Day after an initial hearing on a petition against COVID-19 vaccination for children, the government strongly believes the case will not succeed. And goodbye Philippines and goodbye world, Pinoy Big Brother host Tony Gonzaga exits the ABS-CBN show amid criticism for hosting the proclamation rally of presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos. The Health Department recording 3,651 new COVID-19 infections. This is the second day fresh cases fell below 4,000. It is also the third lowest single-day increase for the year. Active cases dropped to over 96,300, excluding results from 3 testing laboratories. 69 more patients died, nearly 13,000 got well. The independent Okta research group says it expects daily COVID-19 figures to again drop to 3 digits by March. But it added this would only be possible if the infection count will keep its downward trend. Now, the last time the country recorded 3-digit fresh cases was on December 29 with 889.
We're hoping by March, babalik na yan sa 3 digits. Basta tuloy-tuloy lang yung pagbaba ng bilang ng kaso at walang mangyari mga spikes or major upticks. Ay by March, tingin natin ganun na rin yung sitwasyon natin sa buong bansa.
Now, Okta stresses it is important for the public and the candidates for the elections to follow minimum health protocols, especially during campaign activities. The government is confident a stay order against COVID-19 vaccination rollout for kids will not succeed. Officials say the COVID-19 vaccine is far different from the Davao controversy years ago. Our correspondent Stanley Gahete has more.
Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says the current COVID-19 vaccination rollout for kids aged 5 to 11 will enable the holding of face-to-face classes soon.
As a general rule, ang ano po namin nila sa CLILING at sa ITF, as much as possible, kailangan talaga yung makakapasok ng face-to-face ay yung mga bakunado. Yung walang vaccinated, ibig sabihin doon sila sa online learning.
Kinakailangan lang protektahan natin yung mga bata. Pero pagka hindi fully vaccinated ang mga estudyante mo, ay hindi kita papayagan.
On Tuesday, petitioners argued their points before the Quezon City Regional Trial Court on their plea for the issuance of a temporary restraining order against the inoculation program for the age bracket. But Galvez believes the petition won't succeed.
Yung TRO hindi nag-prosper kasi nakikita ng lahat, even the judges, there is a higher good yung vaccination ng mga young children. And there is no compelling reason for the TRO to proceed.
He explained that Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine has already been used for 1.2 billion people around the world and that it has already passed the experimentation phase.
Malayo po ang kondisyon noon sa dengue vaccine kasi ang nangyari po noon, tayo ang nauna. Ngayon po, ang nangyari, tayo sumusunod.
On the eve of the 3rd National Vaccination Day, Bulacan started its initial rollout of Pfizer vaccine to 200 children.
Actually, may doubt kami nung una kung mababakunahan namin today. Pero dahil nakita ko naman na maraming, actually mga anak ng doctors, yung mga kasamahan ko nagpa-inject na yung mga anak nila. So nawala na rin yung worries ko. And approval na rin ng mga pedya niya.
Maganda yung assessment namin. Sa kakunti lang ang umiyak. Parang aware naman yung mga bata na babakunahan sila.
If anything happens, Galvez assures everyone that the government will take full responsibility.
Kung meron mang may mangyari na natin, the government, the national government is responsible for everything.
Stanley Gahete, CNN Philippines.
The Philippines will finally be able to have a secure supply of the antiviral pill molnupiravir at a lower cost. That's after the Food and Drug Administration approved the local production of the drug. The FDA issued an emergency use authorization to Lloyd Laboratories for the local production of a generic molnupiravir. The agency says the laboratory will be able to produce 1 million capsules for 25,000 COVID-19 patients in a year. Most of the approved branded molnupiravir have limited supply sent to the country.
Yung inaprubahan ng FDA na EUA ng molnupiravir ng Lloyd ay isang generic product. Usually po, ang generic product po ay 30 to 50% po mas mababa kaysa doon sa mga branded. Nagpa-survey po ako kung magkano po sa merkado noong January, mga 100 to 150 po per capsule po ang molnupiravir. Ngayon, pwede po itong asahan na ang Lloyd ay Ima-market niya siguro between 50 to 75 pesos na lang per capsule.
Molnupiravir is currently approved only for emergency use for mild and moderate COVID-19 infection. It is not yet sold in the market. Another antigen test kit brand gets government approval. The Food and Drug Administration gave the green light for Getane Biotech Incorporated's one-step test for SARS-CoV-2 antigen. This is the third self-administered antigen kit brand that may now be sold locally. The other two brands approved are the test kits produced by Lab Novation Technologies and Abbott Rapid Diagnostics. As of today, 30,000 Lab Novation self-administered rapid antigen test kits are already in the country through its distributor, ClearBridge Medical Philippines. They are now available at the Generics Pharmacy main branch in Parañaque City and will be available in other branches and pharmacies soon. They're sold at 350 pesos per kit, the price cap set by the Health Department. President Rodrigo Duterte is not endorsing any presidential candidate, at least for now. He says almost all candidates reached out to him in one way or another to seek his support. His statement comes in the light of a social weather station survey that showed 75% of Filipinos are satisfied with the president's performance. Political analyst Mon Casipe, however, says voters are not solely dependent on what the president will say, but his endorsement can amplify the support for his bet. We have the full report from Trisha Tarada later on in the show. Straight from their proclamation rallies yesterday, three presidential candidates court voters in different parts of the country. Vice President Leni Robredo still in Bicol, Senator Manny Pacquiao in Sarangani, and Labor leader Leody de Guzman still in Quezon City. Our Anjo Alimario takes us to day 2 of their campaigns.
It's a different story for Vice President Leni Robredo in Sorsogon in 2016. She came close to sweeping the entire Bicol region except here. Vice Presidential Betchis Escudero ruled the province at the time with more than 200,000 votes. Now Governor of Sorsogon, Escudero has yet to endorse anyone for the highest post, but he's now part of Robredo's Senate slate. But if this packed gymnasium of pink-clad supporters is an indication, Sorsogueños may have a change of heart for a fellow Bicolano. Robredo appeals to voters to discern against false promises.
Pero in 2022 elections, magdidesisyon anong klaseng politika sa kapamamahala ang gusto nating mamayani dito. Dahil ang akin pong ino-offer sa inyo, ibang-iba naman sa ino-offer sa iba. Ang akin pong klase ng politika, pinakita ko kung paano ako as a public servant. Hindi pinagsisilbihan, pero siya yung naninilbihan.
Senator Manny Pacquiao says he can provide homes for all poor families for free if he becomes president. On day 2 of the campaign trail, he visits the Pacman village he had built in Alabel, Sarangani with two of his senatorial candidates, former broadcaster Rafi Tulfo and former Eastern Samar Governor Lotgardo Barbo. Pacquiao paid for the construction of around 2,000 homes in the village, and the houses were given for free to poor beneficiaries. He says these villages are proof that his promise of free housing for the poor is not lip service.
Pero pag tayo ay pinalad at pinagkatiwalaan ng taong bayan, lahat ng pamilya na walang tahanan gusto ko mabigyan ng tahanan. Pag nandiyan na tayo sa gobyerno, magagawa na natin ang dapat natin magawa. Katulad ng pagbibigay natin ng pabahay sa lahat ng mga pamilya na walang sariling tahanan.
Meanwhile, Labor leader Leody de Guzman says he is satisfied with the outcome of his proclamation rally in Quezon City despite possible sanctions from COMELEC. The poll body said the rally had no permit, therefore a violation of election guidelines. De Guzman says his legal team is still coordinating with the COMELEC about the permit as well as possible sanctions against him. Sanctions may include fines, jail time, or even disqualification.
Baka kailangan natin itong kausapin yung COMELEC na huwag naman masyadong stricto. Kung meron ka ng face mask, meron ka ng alcohol, at meron ka ng vaccine, meron ka ng vaccine card, ganun pa rin yung ipatutupad na parang patadaanin ka halos sa butas ng karayom para makapaglunsad ng kampanya. siguro dapat ay rekonsidera at medyo luwagan yung mga policy.
Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
In my interview yesterday, de Guzman's campaign manager, Sonny Melencio, admitted they are used to staging rallies without permits. He said they're, quote, very sorry for the lapses, unquote. Melencio also clarified they applied for a permit but had to make sudden changes in the venue. For more stories ahead, presidential candidate Senator Ping Lacson continues to seek support, this time from vote-rich Quezon City, while Manila Mayor Isko Moreno takes on Rizal Province. And longtime Pinoy Big Brother host Tony Gonzaga makes a voluntary exit from the show after backlash for hosting the proclamation rally of presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos. Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Presidential candidates hit the campaign trail with Senator Ping Lacson heading to the vote-rich Quezon City and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno courting Rizal Province. George Quiles joins us live from Quezon City with the latest. George.
Well, Pia, the Lacson-Soto tandem met with local officials of Quezon City led by Mayor Joy Belmonte and Soto's son, Vice Mayor Gian Soto. There was no endorsement made, but Senate President Soto said that Mayor Belmonte is supporting their candidacy with around 1.4 million voters. The tandem acknowledges the importance of getting the majority votes here in Quezon City. They met with their supporters here at the Quezon Memorial Circle, declaring their battle cry, aayusin ng gobyerno para maayos ang buhay ng Pilipino. Joining the duo on the stage were senatorial candidates former PNP Chief Guillermo Eleazar, Dr. Mingita Padilla, former Makati Representative Monsur del Rosario, former Senator J.V. Ejercito, and former Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol. Earlier, we asked the Lacson-Soto tandem about their guest candidates who joined the proclamation rally of other presidential and vice presidential candidates. Some of them are even party mates, friends, and longtime colleagues in the Senate. Lacson admits he felt a bit slighted after their guest senatorial candidates did not join them in Cavite yesterday. But he explains that he understood the practicality of their decision given that they want to win the elections. But he says it's a totally different situation if their guest candidates openly endorse their competition. If that happens, they will have to drop them from their slate.
Well, let's put it this way, no? Gusto nila manalo. Gusto rin namin sila manalo. Pero wag naman silang magkampanya sa ibang kandidato. Kasi kung ganon, hindi na rin namin sila gusto manalo.
If you're endorsing other candidates, we will no longer endorse you. Pero yung tumindig ka sa ibang entablado, nagsalita ka, pinuri mo yung sarili mo, walang problema sa amin yun. Sapagkat gusto rin natin na magkaroon sila ng pagkakataon.
Meanwhile, presidential candidate Manila Mayor Isko Moreno made his rounds in Rizal Province. With him, his running mate Dr. Willie Ong. The tandem also got the endorsement of Rodriguez Rizal Mayor Dennis Hernandez. In relation to some health protocols set by the COMELEC during the campaign, Moreno is hoping that the poll body will reconsider its policies.
Ang gusto ko lamang makausap kayo, makalapit ako sa tao, kahit na medyo pinagbabawal yung selfie-selfie, ang katwiran ko, selfie na nga lang, pinagdadamot pa natin sa tao.
After the production numbers filled the proclamation rally at the Philippine Arena in Bulacan yesterday, presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos and vice presidential candidate Sara Duterte did not have a public appearance today. Back to you, Pia.
George, did Senator Lacson talk about or mention whether there were any senatorial bets? Wait a minute. I think you just reported about this, about the senatorial bets openly endorsing other candidates, and he did address the question. I guess that's a problem when you have too many tickets, too many presidential candidates. Yeah, George. Sige, baka may gusto ko pang idagdag.
Yes, Pia. Yes, Pia. Lacson says they're verifying reports that Senator Richard Gordon endorsed another presidential and vice presidential candidates. That's why they want to talk to him as soon as possible. Now, former Quezon City Mayor Herbert Bautista used to be part of the slate, but he was already dropped because he's already part of the unit team, the group under Bongbong Marcos and Sara Duterte. Now, as for former Vice President Jojo Marbinay, Lacson says they have lost touch with his camp for a long time. That's why they try to reach to them again. But for now, he's still part of the slate. Back to you.
What does that mean? They've been ghosted by Jojo Binay or something? And, you mentioned Dick Gordon. He was at Lenny's proclamation rally yesterday in Naga.
That's right, Pia. That's what they want to verify. If Senator Gordon indeed endorsed openly Vice President Leni Robredo and her running mate. So those are the things that they want to find out. And of course, in the case of Vice President Jojo Marbinay, they want to know if the former Vice President is still inclined to join their team or he will be endorsing another candidate. Back to you.
Or he just goes to them. Well, yun ang problema, no, George, and well, everybody who's covered politics here in this country. Sobrang daming presidential candidates and daming senatorial candidates, and many of them are on different slates. George Quiles there, live from Quezon City. Now, with limited resources, 2 more presidential candidates launched their campaigns, while others have yet to firm up their plans. Tristan Odalo filed this report.
After an hour-long caravan in Tagaytay and Bacoor, Cavite, presidential candidate Ernie Abella personally greets his supporters at the Presbyterian Theological Seminary in Dasmariñas, Cavite. The pastor turned politician likened the presidential race to a David and Goliath battle. Praise and worship songs opened Abella's proclamation rally. On stage, Abella says he is not a politician, but he was called to serve the Filipino people.
I felt it was important for me to be able to share a little bit of my story. Kasi para naintindihan, kasi alam, sasabihin na bigla-bigla, yung ganun, parang ganun-ganun lang. Pero there's a deeper backstory.
Abella admits he lacks the political machinery and funds, but trusts that his supporters and volunteers will fulfill his dream for the nation. If elected, he vows to establish a government that will listen to the people, address corruption, hunger, and poverty.
You know, for 500 years, we have been called a Christian nation, but up to now, we're still considered one of the most corrupt nations.
After the vote-rich province of Cavite, Abella eyes to visit Cebu, Davao, and other key areas in Luzon. In the meantime, presidential candidate Jose Montemayor and running mate Rizalito David launched their bid in front of around 50 supporters at a condominium in Pasay City on Tuesday. The two are running under the Democratic Party of the Philippines. Montemayor was not bothered when asked about possible violations of health protocols during his proclamation event.
ng isang scientific study really proving that wearing face mask is directly related to COVID infection. Wala po. Hindi kayo i-encourage. No, wag magsuot ng face mask. Kahit yung nanay at saka tatay nung bulag, tanungin mo siya. Matanda na siya. Diba? So, well, gusto ko sana naka-face mask ang lahat.
Presidential candidate and former Defense Secretary Norberto Gonzales has yet to announce his plans for the campaign period. No fixed date yet on a proclamation rally, but he has attended the first COMELEC-sponsored e-rally. Another presidential aspirant, Faisal Mangundato, also attended the e-rally. His team has yet to give the media a schedule of campaign activities. CNN Philippines visited his headquarters in Quezon City, but there were no scheduled activities at that time. Tristan Udalo, CNN Philippines.
The People's Reform Party, founded by the late Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago, officially adopts presidential daughter Sara Duterte as its vice presidential candidate. The Davao City Mayor graced the inauguration of the party's campaign headquarters in Quezon City this afternoon. In 2016, Santiago ran for president against Sara's father and in tandem with former Senator Bongbong Marcos. President Duterte refuses to endorse any presidential candidate, even after some hopefuls supposedly came to him asking for support. But that is as the chief executive again earned a very good satisfaction rating in the latest social weather station survey. Trisha Terada has that story.
Hours before the official campaign period kicked off, President Rodrigo Duterte clarified that he is not supporting any presidential candidate for now. He said almost all candidates have reached out to him in one way or another for his endorsement.
I may, in the end, if I see that it would be my advice and maybe endorsement would help kung kailangan. But at this time, I am saying that I'm not supporting anybody. Gusto ko kasi maglabas na puro ko kaibigan, unless there is a compelling reason really for me to change my mind and decide to support a candidate. But until now, wala akong nakikita na danger.
Political analyst Mon Casiple says the president's endorsement is significant, but just like in the past administrations, he says even that might not make much of a difference for a presidential aspirant's battle.
Depende yan kung ano yung popularity pa na naiwan sa presidente. Kasi ang naging pattern sa atin, mula pa nung kay Marcos to wala pang presidente na nagkaroon ng ganong klaseng power ng endorsement. Lahat ng mga na-endorse before, except siguro ng in-endorse ni Cory, lahat ng in-endorse ng mga sitting president natalo.
A recent SWS survey shows 75% or majority of Filipinos are satisfied with President Duterte's performance. Malacanang gratefully acknowledges the public for its continued trust and support.
Ikumpara natin si Pangulong Duterte at this point na towards the last months of his administration compared to previous presidents at this point also na towards their respective last months in their administration. Si Pangulong Duterte po ang kung hindi ako nagkakamali ang highest net satisfaction rating.
Despite the high satisfactory rating, Casiple says voters are not solely dependent on what the president will say. They're also looking at the candidates. The president's bet can, however, benefit from the outgoing leader's solid supporters.
Ang record kasi natin ng lahat ng mga sitting president, naging negative basically ang performance sa mata ng tao. So, ang problem palagi dyan, once na nag-endorse siya ng susunod sa kanya, naging negative generally ang labas. Kaya hindi necessarily good yung endorsement
In 2019 midterm elections, President Duterte's top senatorial bets made it to the list. But Casiple says their victory doesn't necessarily mean it would be the same for the chief executive's presidential bet. Besides, Casiple says the voters are also looking at surveys. For now, he says it's too early to judge since a lot can still happen in the run-up to May 9th. Trisha Terada, CNN Philippines.
The National Bureau of Investigation presents a person of interest in the alleged death threat against presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos on TikTok. The man showed up at the NBI hoping to clear his name as he claims his personal information was used to create the TikTok account that posted the threat. He agreed to submit his gadgets for forensic investigation and undergo a lie detector test. He believes the incident could be linked to his support for Marcos's rival, Vice President Leni Robredo.
Hindi po ako natatakot kasi alam ko sa sarili ko na malinis ako, wala akong ginagawa. Siguraduhin ako, nagsasampa ako sa kanya, sisira nila yung pagkatao.
We would like to make it very clear that as of the moment, as we speak, Mr. Kaport is a person of interest in this investigation. It is not an accused yet. Investigation is being conducted.
Last month, authorities flagged a comment on TikTok that said there have been daily meetings about a supposed plan to assassinate Marcos. A back-to-back recognition with Filipino-American Miami Heat mentor Eric Spoelstra making it to the top 15 best coaches in NBA history. And global superstar Adele sweeping the 2022 Brit Awards. Details when we come back. Welcome back. Tony Gonzaga is leaving the Pinoy Big Brother house. Tony announced she is stepping down as PBB's main host after 16 years on the show. The news comes a day after the actress went trended on Twitter for hosting a Bongbong Marcos's proclamation rally. Now, this was met with mixed reactions, with some netizens criticizing her for introducing a lawmaker who went against the renewal of ABS-CBN's franchise. Today, hashtag #UnbotheredQueen Tony G also entered Twitter trends. PBB management issued a statement thanking Tony and saying they respect her decision. Neither the show nor Tony has stated a reason behind the former host's exit. In sports, the quest for gold is not over yet for the country's first Olympic champion. In the 31st Southeast Asian Games in Hanoi, Vietnam this May, Heidelin Diaz will defend her title in the women's 55-kilogram category. But first, Diaz must hurdle next month's national weightlifting qualifiers. In an event honoring the weightlifter at the De La Salle College of St. Benilde, Diaz shared she's slowly regaining strength after testing positive for COVID-19 last month.
After 2 weeks of heavy training, medyo lumakas na ako. Medyo naka-recover na after COVID, after holidays. Mas okay yung nandun na makita nila. Ito pala si Ate Heidi, kasama namin dito sa paglaro sa SEA Games. So kung nagawa niya sa Olympics, kaya din namin. So habang naglalaro ako, it serves an inspiration sa mga athletes.
Another Pinoy in sports got high praises today. The NBA named Phil-Am Eric Spoelstra one of the top 15 greatest coaches in history. Spoelstra has been the Miami Heat's head coach since 2008, leading the team to 5 NBA Finals appearances and 2 titles. Also in the list are Phil Jackson and Greg Popovich. Spoelstra is currently second to Popovich of the San Antonio Spurs as the longest tenured NBA head coach. The Filipino-American is coaching Team Durant in the All-Star Game on February 21, Philippine time. Well, speaking of stars, the winners for this year's Brit Awards are out, and leading the pack is Adele. The English singer nabbed all but one of the 4 categories she was nominated for. Her wins include Artist and Album of the Year, and Silk Sonic, the R&B duo behind smash hit Leave the Door Open, took the prize for international group, beating acts like BTS and ABBA. You can check out the full list of winners on cnnphilippines.com. And that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.